Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Shri Chaitanya Vishnu Sapitam Yanatare Swayam Rupa Kadam Ayatharati Swapadamsikam Vanchakalpatarudescha Kripa Sintadevcha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Dharma Prema, Karo Vibhurya, Kshatriya, Ramachurusha, Om Tevana, Sunasa, Sadhava, Krishna, Madhuvan, Machamsime. Hare Krishna. So everyone is happy? That's good. That's the most important thing. So today we will read from the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is entitled Karma Yoga, text 10. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Sahayagya Praja Svistva Purocha Prajapati Anena Prasarishadvam Yashavo Svista Kamadhuk. Translation purport by His Divine Grace C.C. Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation." Purport. The material creation by the Lord of the creatures, Vishnu, is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come home back to Godhead. All living entities within the material creation are conditioned by material nature because of their forgetfulness of their relationship to Krishna, Vishnu or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic principles are to help us Understand this eternal relation as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedasya Sarvar Aham Eva Vidya. The Lord says that the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Him. In the Vedic hymns it is said, Patim Vishvasyat Meshwaram, therefore the Lord of the living entities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also, Srila Swami described the Lord as Pati in so many ways. Shriya Pati, Yagya Pati, Raja Pati, Thiyam Pati, Loka Pati, Dharma Pati, Dharapati, Patir Gatish Chandika, Krishna Satatam, Prasidatam, Me Bhagavan Satam Pati. The Prajapati
March, what page?
is Lord Vishnu 148.
148. 148 page.
No, everyone would have.
Chapter
310. 310.
The Prajapati is Lord Vishnu, and he is the Lord of all living creatures, all worlds and all beauties, and the protector of everyone. The Lord created this material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform yagyas, sacrifices for the satisfaction of Vishnu, so that while in the material world they can live very comfortably without anxiety. And after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yagya, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. In the age of Kali, the Sankirtan Yagya, the chanting of the names of God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures, and this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Sankirtan Yagya and Krishna consciousness go well together. Krishna in his devotional form as Lord Chaitanya is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.532 as follows, with special reference to the Sankirtan Yagya. Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishna Sangapam Gastra Parshadam Yagya Sankirtana Prayer Yachantihi Sumeda Saha. In this age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates by performance of Sankirtan Yagya. Other yagyas prescribed in the Vedic literatures are not easy to perform in this age of Kali, but the Sankirtan Yagya is easy and sublime for all purposes, as recommended in Bhagavad Gita also. Saha Yagya Praja Srishla Pravacha Prajapati Anana Prasavishyadham Yeshavastvishta Kamadhu. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yagya, sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. Hare Krishna. So, anyone who listened carefully can say, what is the purpose of yagya?
Please, Vishnu.
To please the Supreme Lord. And what are the results of yagya?
Achieve liberation.
Achieve liberation. Something else? Nothing else? Only liberation?
Go back to Godhead.
That's liberation.
No, that's beyond liberation.
Something else which is mentioned in this verse.
Happy.
Huh?
Be happy.
Yes, happiness, liberation, and something else. Hmm?
Everything desired.
Yes, fulfillment of all desires. Okay. So these are the three results of yagya. Happiness, fulfillment of all desires, and going back to Godhead. Is it a good deal?
Very good.
Good program? Yes? You can live happily. All your desires are fulfilled. And at the end, you do not even die. you go to the spiritual world to live happily ever after. What else do you want? Everything is there. And so, in other ages, yagyas were quite complicated and very expensive. In this day and age, people are not really qualified to perform these yagyas. But very simple yagya, which is recommended, is what? Which yagya?
Sankirtan.
Sankirtan yagya, chanting of
The whole
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So why this yagya is so powerful? Because the name is very powerful, right? Because if I will address someone without name, that's not as effective as when I use name, right? I will say either Ram Vijay Prabhu or Will or Satchigaranga Prabhu. So immediately name is referring to personal relationship. Right? And the most important thing is relationship. Right? And what is yagya? Yagya is the way to reciprocate with the Supreme Lord for the benefits of God. And even though in Kali Yuga there are people are bereft of many benefits, Prayana, Upayasha, Sabhya, Kalavasmi, Genjana, Manda Sumanda Mataya, Manda Bhagya, Rupadrutaha, it described that Prayana, Upayush, very short life, right? Sabhya, practically all people live very short life. Kalavasmi Yugenjana, this is the position of everyone in Kali Yuga. And everyone is very manda. Manda means slow or lazy. And sumanda mataya, and a little bit disturbed in mind. Yeah, some people not little, but very much disturbed. And actually this is on the rise. Right? Manda bhagya, and of course, if someone's brain is not functioning properly, then manda bhagya, one will be unlucky. And at the end, he upadrutaha. Upadrutaha means morose or very sad. Always problems, right? Problems outside, problems inside, so nothing works out. So this is the position of people in Kali Yuga. So they might think, what can we thank the Lord for, right? If we have only problems? But we have one gift in this lifetime. What is the special gift we have from the Lord? Anyone knows?
Free will.
Huh?
Free will.
Free will. This is everyone has. But what do we have?
Intelligence.
Even without holy name, what do we have?
Devotee association.
Even without devotional practices, what? Everyone has.
Human form.
Yes, a human form of life. So a human form of life has superior intelligence, and this superior intelligence is meant to help us understand our relationship with Krishna. And so at least for these, we can thank the Lord, right? That we were born human. Sometimes I'm thinking that poor animals. Just imagine yourself what to speak of being without air conditioning. That's the least of the problems, right, for animals. Just imagine you are starving and you have no money to buy anything because you have no pockets. And then finally you found some little food lying in the dust, right? And you're so hungry, you're trying to eat that food, and then someone jumps on you and tries to kill you while you eat it, or tries to take that food away. And it's happening all the time, right? Danger at every step. So this is animal life. Always starving and always fighting for food. Can you imagine that? All life long just thinking food, food, food. And for food, just imagine, you're taking your food and someone's trying to kill you at the same time. You just took your spoon, someone's trying to kill you, you run away, and you look okay. Danger's over again, you take your spoon again, someone's trying to kill you. This is hellish life. Right? So that's the life of the animals. And so we are protected from that by our intelligence. We can organize things in such a way that we don't have all these problems. Even probably the most bereft human being still lives better than animals, right? Of course there are exceptions. Animals also, some animals have very good karma. Better than humans, but normally animals have very difficult lives. And so yes, the most important thing is that we have the intelligence which helps us to understand our position and understand God and understand our relationship with Him. So, and for these, we can express our gratitude to the Lord. But if we don't have much in our lives, at least, if you cannot do much for the person who have done something valuable for you, what can you do? If you cannot give anything to the person, or if you cannot do anything, what's the minimum you can do? Huh? Do service. But even if you cannot do service, what is the minimum you can do?
Remember?
Remember? Yes, thank the person. Right? And so how do we thank Krishna for giving us human form of life? By addressing Him by His name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And yes, Prabhupada was saying that this mantra, the meaning of this mantra is request to engage us in His service. And so, the more we do this, then the more we have improvements in our lives. Right? We get benefits from performing Sankirtan Yajna. And of course these benefits are meant to be used in Krishna's service. That's the most important thing. 3 elements are the most important in human life, as it is explained in chapter 17 and 18 of Bhagavad Gita. Anyone remembers what are the 3 most important things? First is Yajna. Second is Dana. And third, Tapa. Yeah. Yajna means we serve the Lord and we get benefit from that, but benefit is meant for Dana, for not for our pleasure, but to give away. But Tapa is meant for us to follow discipline in our lives. And so in order to follow strictly the process of Sankirtan Yagya, we need to follow some discipline. So Yagya also means that we follow some rules in our lives, right? So it is sacrifice. So we sacrifice our interests for the sake of pleasing the Lord. What do we sacrifice? Anyone is sacrificing anything? Time, yes. I mean, instead of being here tonight, you could be watching TV or doing so many other things. So you've sacrificed your time for the sake of hearing and discussing topics connected to the service of the Lord. Anything else you sacrifice?
Energy.
Huh?
Energy.
Energy, yes. Anything else?
Relationships.
Relationships, yes. Sometimes we cannot associate with some people who are not interested in Krishna consciousness naturally. These relationships, they fade away, they are fading away. Anything else to sacrifice? Self-gratification? Yes?
Yes.
Right with the principles. I mean, this is not very common. Four regular principles. Some people have difficulty in following even half regular principle. What to speak of four. Right? So, quite a few things we sacrifice, right? But do we gain anything? What do we gain? And it is important to know the answer to these questions, because anyone can tell you that you dedicated your life to so much restrictions and you gave so many things up. You gave up restaurants, cinemas, discos, this and that, so many things. So what did you get in your life? So you would have to be able to tell people clearly what is it that you're getting from this process.
Yes, absolutely.
You're getting the association of senior as well as young devotees, and you're getting the knowledge of the Absolute which is there in the scriptures.
Yes, very good. Very nice association with the devotees, right? As we've discussed on Sunday. Devotees are really amazing personalities, very special. And sometimes you cannot even understand who the devotees are, because devotees are so humble and they will not tell you who they are. It's so surprising. Like in Singapore, when I came and devotees said, one devotee wants to host you in his house. And I was like thinking, house in Singapore? Because even the apartment there is costing more than $1 million. And house means $5-6 million automatically. So someone having house in Singapore is automatically multi-millionaire. And then this devotee received me, brought me to his house, 6-story house, huge, and I'm thinking, who is this man? And then he's like humbly serving me, and his wife cooks prasadam, and while I'm taking prasadam, he is reading for me something from Prabhupada's books. And then I'm asking him, what are you doing? He said, this is not important. And I had to really push him to figure out that he's Harvard business director in charge of organizing Harvard business courses in the entire Southeast Asia. And, I'm thinking, You know, who am I? Just, you know, someone who doesn't even have a home, right? Who has nothing. Just a beggar from the street. And then Harvard Business Regional Director is, you know, like his wife is cooking for me personally and he is reading for me. And it's like you have so many mega wealthy people who can travel anywhere on the planet, and of course they can stay in any expensive hotels and they can eat whatever they want to eat. But then the people who are serving him and making the arrangements for him, they're not his friends. They just do it because the guy has money. And once he has no money, no one, you know, will even look at him, right? And the kind of food he served, this is not like homemade food, it's just something, you know, some dead food they cook in the restaurant. So even the wealthiest of all people on the planet is not hosted for free by a Harvard Business Regional Director. His wife will not cook for him, and he will not read for this person, etc. You know, things I'm getting for free, even the wealthiest people in the world are not getting, so yeah. And why? Because, you know, he's a devotee and so he's so humble, even though he has such a prominent position. And he's not even thinking that this is anything important. Yeah, and there are so many amazing devotees we come across in this movement. And yes, knowledge, transcendental knowledge, this is also something very special. Understanding the goal of life, understanding the purpose of life. That's not many people have, very few. So yeah, there's a huge benefits. Thank you for sharing. Somebody else wanted to add?
You were saying.
Yeah, I was saying that I would develop Krishna consciousness.
Development of Krishna consciousness, yeah. Developing direct personal relationship with the Supreme Lord. And what can be greater than that? Anything else?
Like real happiness. You feel
Happiness, yes.
Real happiness.
Krishna conscious happiness. I mean, people, they normally don't dance unless they're drunk or something. But devotees can dance at any time, right? Little kids and their own dancing. Yeah. More than drunk people. Yeah. Anyone else wants to share some benefit?
Your transcendence.
Transcendence. Yeah. Right. You become unaffected by external circumstances. Anyone else?
You achieve devotion.
Devotion.
Love of Godhead.
Yeah. Nice qualities. Anything else? What about freedom?
Realize that you're not in control.
Okay.
Yeah, freedom, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, freedom is a big thing because you follow regular principles. You don't smoke, you don't drink, you don't do all these things. So the people who are doing these things, they don't know how to relate to you. They can't invite you to barbecue, they cannot invite you for drink. So they just scratch their head and they just go away. So automatically, you follow regular principles, automatically your association is filtered out. Right? And some, tricky people who try to, cheat you for your money, and so many people are getting cheated for money because these guys, they offer them very quick earnings, right? You just do this and that and you become super wealthy. Devotees are not interested in these things, so these guys cannot do anything. at last they know from philosophy that this world is the world of cheaters and cheated. So they're also very careful. They're not getting bewildered so easily by Maya. Yeah, there are so many benefits. And we can see that the more you do for Krishna, the more benefits you gain. And actually this is directly proportionate. And we won't have time tonight, but I would recommend that whenever you have time, you can do this very nice exercise. How many benefits you've gained since the time you started chanting Hare Krishna, right? Before and after. What did change in your life for better? How many of you are recognizing that things have changed in your life for better since the time you started chanting? And of course for the kids, things, always been great. Because being born in devotee family is very special privilege. Just there is always prasadam, and so many poor kids in the material world, they have to eat all these horrible things like meat. I was sharing with Prabhu. My whole childhood was so miserable because my parents were pushing meat on me, and I couldn't understand how one can, how being sane human being one can eat, piece of somebody's dead body. This was completely crazy for me. And I was asking my parents, why should I eat this? This is horrible. And they were saying, no, this is good for your health, this and that. I was fighting with them my whole childhood. But then, after coming to Krishna consciousness, I realized, wow, what a relief. I don't have to do that. I don't have to submit to these, social pressures anymore. I'm free. So there are so many benefits. And then naturally, you have so many benefits, and what do you do with all these benefits?
Spread it.
Huh?
Spread it.
Yes. You engage them in Krishna's service, right?
Yeah.
Like smart business people. What do they do with their profits?
They keep to themselves.
Keep to themselves. Obviously.
They
not.
invest money.
Yes, that's right. That's the proof that not many people here are doing business. Because that you would know that what do you do with the profits? You reinvest them into the business, right? And so yes, Krishna is giving so much, and then what do? You reinvest that in Krishna's service. And the more you invest, the more you get back. And so then it becomes Ananda Buddhi Vardhana, right? As Lord Chaitanya says, unlimited ocean of bliss in Krishna consciousness. And this is why devotees want to do more and more service to Krishna, and Krishna is giving them more and more facilities and opportunities. Right? Again, looking at Srila Prabhupada's example, he came with practically nothing to America, and in very few years, because he fully invested everything in Krishna's service, Krishna gave him unlimited opportunities and wealth and high position and name and everything. Right? And so this is the proof how Krishna consciousness is working. And then Srila Prabhupada said at one point, talking to his disciples, he said, I'm just one man, and look how many things I can do. And then someone told him, but you are pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, so of course you can do so many things. But Srila Prabhupada said, no, it's not about me, it's about the process of devotional service. And anyone who follows the same process can become like me. And devotees were thinking, wow. And they were saying, Srila Prabhupada, but this is, how this is possible? That we can become like you. And then Prabhupada responded, it's not just only possible, but you have to do that. All of you have to become like me. And then you can imagine how much we can do, right? And so, whether it will work or not, at least we should try. Yeah. We should try our best to follow in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps, to follow his example. Because his enthusiasm and inspiration in serving Krishna is just amazing, right? That he was ready to sacrifice everything, even his sleep, for the sake of translating books, and his peace he sacrificed completely in managing the society and traveling, so everything. He sacrificed his peace, his sleep, his time, whatever he had, full investment, more than 100% actually he was investing. Like even the things he didn't have, he was investing. Like in this time when he just started the movement in New York, and what he was doing, he was going out and selling his books, distributing his books, to make money to buy products to cook Sunday feast and then feed all the devotees with prasadam. And then he was also cleaning after them. So he was investing even what he didn't have, right? In order to pay for all this, he had to go out and sell his own books. And then one disciple found out, he said, Srila Prabhupada, oh, you're such an old man and you're making so much endeavor for us, and let us help you. He said, yeah, helping is good, but it's not that I'm kind of straying myself, because it's all Krishna's service. I'm going out and distributing Krishna's books, and people giving donations for Krishna. I'm buying products for Krishna, and I cook for Krishna, offer it to Krishna, and then I feed Krishna's devotees. So it's all devotional service to Krishna, and devotional service to Krishna is very happy activity. And so, but if you like to take part, yes, it is good. You can take part. So yes, because Srila Prabhupada was so happy by conducting all these services, he was not even feeling any hardships. He was undergoing, because if you're happy, you don't really worry about what's going on, and etc. And so yes, what's the first and foremost thing we need to learn if we want to follow in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps? What are his secrets of success?
Faith in Krishna.
Faith in Krishna.
I was going to say surrender to Krishna.
Surrender to Krishna. Okay. Something else?
Follow Krishna.
Huh?
Always remember Krishna.
Always remembering Krishna.
Follow Guru's order.
Yeah.
Follow Guru's order. Okay. That's closer to home.
Hearing.
Huh?
Hearing.
Hearing.
Chanting.
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 For regulated principles.
wants to know one of the greatest secrets of success Srila Prabhupada had? Anyone? Srila Prabhupada said one time that one of my problems always was, just joking like this, that I could never think small. I was always thinking big. And I was mentioning, I think that, unfortunately, we will not have time for this because it takes separate and big session. Spiritual entrepreneurship. And someone analyzed that to be a spiritual entrepreneur, you need to have 12 special qualities or abilities. And what is the first and foremost of this? What was the first and foremost Srila Prabhupada had? Thinking big. And so it's very interesting that this was the first one mentioned. And this analysis article is not even coming from our sources, coming from some Christian pastor. He wrote 12 signs that you're a spiritual entrepreneur. And he said, first one is that you think big. And Srila Prabhupada was thinking really big. And because he was thinking big, he could achieve big things, right? As we've heard at the first session, I think, Govinda Dasimurti was sharing how Srila Prabhupada was just turning the globe and he was saying, you go here, you go there. Sending his disciples all over the planet. And so, how many of you want to learn to think big? Okay. So one very important process in Krishna consciousness, and it's not something we talk often, but it's very powerful. It's called by many people in spiritual circles, it's called visualization. And what do we call it in our tradition? Meditation, right? So, in order to start thinking big, you have to become accomplished meditators. And so, what was Srila Prabhupada's meditation? And Deepak Prabhu mentioned that he was meditating on the order of his spiritual master. And so, how he was meditating on the order? What was his meditation?
How to carry out the whole.
Was remember
How to carry out.
How to carry out, and before carrying out, what do we have to have? A blueprint, right? What do you do if you wanna build a house? Yeah, you have to have a blueprint. You have to have a plan. And so, before carrying out, or in the process of carrying out, Srila Prabhupada made a very, very clear plan. And you can see, very interestingly, that few things are quite confusing in his biography, right? Because he was very old, but for some reason, like mostly his godbrothers, they were going to London, right? And trying to spread Krishna consciousness in England. For some reason, Srila Prabhupada didn't go to London. If you look at the map, UK is pretty close to India. It would take him probably not more than half the time what he spent going to US. More opportunities to get there, everything is easier. in his health condition, why did he choose such a hard journey, and he nearly died due to the heart attack. Why did he choose America? Why didn't he choose UK? Why did he come here?
You could follow what great countries do.
Yes, because he knew that he was joking about it. When he was asked, he said, so many of my god brothers failed in UK, so if I would have to fail, at least I will fail in a new place. But actually it was not like that. He went here because he knew this is the most powerful country in the world. And so if Krishna consciousness will be accepted here, that's it. It will be accepted all over the world. And what's the other proof? That you can imagine, struggling so much, having 2 heart attacks and, surviving that with great difficulty, and he comes, and then he goes to Butler, and then he goes through a lot of difficulties there, of course. Midfield preach, people walking in their boots. It's glorious American culture. Especially in Texas, it's very popular. People never removing their boots even in the house, and putting their boots on the dining table, and even sleeping in their boots sometimes, right? No problem. And smoking was so widespread in Prabhupada times. Even the wife of Gopala Garwal was smoking. And all their friends were smoking. And so you can imagine Srila Prabhupada is there, and they come with their boots. He's trying to keep it clean. And they come in their boots with a lit cigarette in their mouth, and smoking while talking to Srila Prabhupada, and just incidentally asking him, Swamiji, do you mind smoking? And what Srila Prabhupada was responding, Swamiji, think nothing of it. Don't worry about it. What could he say? Right? And he was answering philosophical questions, sitting, surrounded by the smoke. Coming from Vrindavan. So for him it was like real hell, right? This is what I call cigarettes, hellish incense. So, but after a while, probably Paramatma in the hearts of the hosts, the told that, looks like Swamiji has different standards than us, so maybe it's better for him to have separate facilities. So they rent out YMCA room. So I can imagine how happy Srila Prabhupada was, having his own room and being able to maintain his standards. And then things started improving. He was invited here, there, giving talks. Article was written about him in the local newspaper, so he became like a little celebrity in Butler. And then basically what he wanted to achieve is already done. And what Srila Prabhupada does, instead of resting on his laurels, what does he do? What's the next move? He drops it all, right? And goes to New York, where he knows absolutely nobody. Why? A very strange decision. But it's very easy, because Srila Prabhupada didn't come to America for the sake of Butler, Pennsylvania. How many of us would ever even know that Butler, Pennsylvania exists, right? If Srila Prabhupada would go there. He didn't come for Butler. He came for the planet. And he knew that the financial and managerial capital of the planet is New York. And so he went to New York. And even though he had to struggle there for more than a year, undergoing a lot of hardships, he achieved what he wanted to achieve. And so he tells about it. Actually, Radha Maharaj was sharing that there has been a discovery made. One article was found in either Calcutta or Bombay newspaper before Srila Prabhupada left. I think it was in Calcutta. One reporter came to him asking him, Swamiji, what are you going to do in America? Why do you want to go to America? You know, you seem to be pretty old to go to America. And what Srila Prabhupada's response was that I'm not just your ordinary Swami. I'm actually a head of very big spiritual movement, international spiritual movement, with hundreds of centers in the United States and thousands of disciples. And when I will come to America, my disciples will organize, preaching throughout the country for me. And once I finish America, I'll go international. And what to speak of the movement, what to speak of disciples, he didn't even know anyone in the country. But why he was saying all these things? Because, if we look from external perspective, it's either madness or geniusness, right? He was either mad or genius. So, but by the results we can understand that he was genius. Why? Because he had very firm faith. If my Guru wants it, if my Guru wants Krishna consciousness to be spread all over the globe, then it's already done. And he was living in the future with such a conviction as if it was already happening to him. Right? So and because he was meditating on all these things, and if anyone read Prabhupada Lilamrita, this was not the only case Srila Prabhupada was talking about it, that he already had all these things. So this was his very powerful meditation. So he had very clear plan, he said, and vision, even more than plan. He visualized everything as if it was already happening. So visualization is very important. And we'll be practicing that also. Because how many of you want to succeed in following Srila Prabhupada's footsteps? And especially for those of you who are Indians. It's kind of natural that your great countryman did such an amazing thing, and he gave you all his secrets, and you can follow all his secrets, and you can do big things in this lifetime. And it's only, your consciousness which holds all the secrets, all your powers are in your consciousness. That's why Srila Prabhupada was naming the movement Krishna consciousness. So if you do things for Krishna, there is no limit to what you can do. You just have to have faith, that's all. And not just faith, but firm conviction, dritha vrata. Alright, before we move to exercises, anyone has any questions? Everything's clear? Yes?
I just have a question about the Bhagavad Gita in general. So I know how, in our society today, women are not treated equally in relation to men. There's the gender pay gap, and we're not on the same social standing as men are. So what does it say about like women in the Bhagavad Gita? Like, are we? I know I've heard in classes before that women are supposed to be like submissive when it comes to relationships and things like that. Like in Goloka Vrindavan, are women seen differently than men, or?
Yeah.
And then.
Well, let's see what Bhagavad Gita has to say about women. This is the end of chapter 4, and the last 3 verses of chapter 4 are very significant because these are the conclusions of the chapter, and of course, I mean chapter 9, not 4, the last. And of course, chapter 9 is central chapter of Bhagavad Gita, right? And the last verses are the conclusions of the chapter, so it's pretty important verses. And so, this is text 32, and 9th chapter has 34 texts, so it's 2 texts before the end. He says, Mam hi parthavya pasutya, yepisi upavayo enayaha, striyo vaishyastata shudras, tepiyanti paramgatim. O son of Prita, those who take shelter of me, in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. So, Krishna says that anyone who is taking shelter of him, even those who take lower birth, they can achieve supreme destination. So, we might think, okay, Krishna speaks about women, but then not only women have lower birth, also Vaishyas and Shudras have lower birth. And so, if we look at another quote Srila Prabhupada brought up very often, Kalalu Shudra Sambhava, in Kali Yuga everyone is born as Shudra. So we can understand that in Kali Yuga there is not much difference between men and women. Right? That both have lower birth. And Shudra means not just birth, but also activities, right? How do you understand that someone is Shudra? By occupation. What is the occupation? That we can understand someone belongs to different class of society by the means of earning their livelihood. Because everyone has to earn something to live, right? And so there are 4 ways to earn: salary, profit, tax, donations, right? So you can understand that each way of earning is corresponding to different class of people, right? So how do Shudras earn? What's the way for them to earn? By salary. For Vaishyas, profit. For Kshatriyas, taxes. For Brahmanas, donations. So, but how do most people earn? Salary. So what does it say? Which category these people belong to? So that's why there is not much difference between men and women. So all these differences are insignificant because everyone has lower birth and lower occupation, lower position in human society. But Krishna says, if you surrender unto me, you can achieve the supreme destination. You can achieve highest perfection. So that's why there is no difference between men and women in terms of their position in Kali Yuga. Yeah, is it answering your question?
Yes.
Of course, natures are different, beauties are different, but in terms of lower, higher, both are at the bottom of the pile, so with very, very few exceptions. So there is no difference.
question about, you talked about thinking big, right? You gave an example of Srila Prabhupada. And,
Yeah.
So right now, I mean, the community, I mean, you know, what we are going through, we got a place to build a future temple there, right? So from a small place, we're moving to a bigger place now. And so how do you, and we have a lot of challenges, and that's what I think. And so how do you think, how do you keep, okay, you know, let's do this, let's keep going in this direction, right? And there are a lot of practical challenges in terms of, like, big thing is the financial, and obviously other things as well, I mean, congregation and all that. So how do you, like, Prabhupada is he had a faith in Krishna, and so the level of Prabhupada is much higher than what I have personally. So I mean, so how do you, okay, fine, can we just say, okay, Prabhupada did it, so maybe we can also do this, or let's just move on, I mean, let's do this.
Yes, it says that the obstacles are something you see when you lose sight of the goal, right? Because if you understand the goal, then obstacles, they don't really matter. Everybody knows about the karate masters who can cut through, you know, whole pile of tiles with the bare hand. Yes? Anyone knows how do they do that? What's the secret? How can they cut through so many, you know, the whole pile of tiles with the bare hand?
Focus on the center.
Huh?
They focus on the center and there's like as less surface area as possible.
They focus not just on the center, they focus at the bottom of the pile. They focus at the goal.
Yes, to get through and not
Yes.
an obstacle to
Yes.
the end.
And once, because they focus on the goal, the hand goes through. So that's why, you know, temple, if you just think, okay, we need temple, then of course you will have so many, you will think of so many obstacles. But if you understand what do you need the temple for, what's the purpose of the temple, not just temple for the temple's sake, because there are so many of these kind of projects, temple for the temple's sake, and then temple is empty and you know, not really serving any purpose because there was no vision for the temple. There was no vision beyond the building, beyond the bricks and wood. So there has to be vision beyond the bricks and wood. And then you wouldn't have to worry about all these small things. If you have big goal, you wouldn't have to worry about small things. Like, I'll give you an example. You know, everyone is worrying about food, right? Everyone's worrying about where do I take my breakfast, lunch, dinner, except one category. One category of people, they don't worry about it at all. Who is that category?
Devotees.
Devotees. No, devotees also worry.
The people who cook.
That's right. That's the right answer. Cooks, they don't worry about it, right? Cooks, they worry about other things. They worry how to reduce their eating, right? This is their worry. One cook is saying that, how come that I always put up so much weight because I don't eat anything, I'm only trying these preparations. And still I'm putting so much weight. And so, yeah, why everyone worries about their food, but cooks don't worry about their food? Huh? Why?
They are
They
the
know.
providers.
Because cooks, they have bigger goal, right? They're not just worried about themselves and how to, you know, get food. They take responsibility for providing everyone with food. That's why they have plenty for themselves, right? So you will never see starving cook. It does not exist. Or another example, Any of you heard of poor bankers? Can bankers be poor? No. Bankers always have plenty of money, right? Why? Because they take the responsibility for looking after other people's money, so they have plenty for themselves. So the bigger you think and the bigger you do things, the less you have to worry about small things. Yeah? Very good. So yes, if you think small, you'll only see problems or you'll only see obstacles. If you think big, you'll only see opportunities. Yes.
So,
Jai Krishna.
so yesterday, Maharaj, you were talking during the class of how if there's Vaishnav abroad, we should immediately beg for forgiveness from the devotee. However, what if, like, if it was a friend, for example, like, they're much more exalted devotee than you'll ever be, but like, or a friend, you offend them and then you forget to apologize in the moment. What should one personality, like, what should one person do in order to take steps to, once again, beg for forgiveness from a Vaishnava?
Yeah. As soon as you remember, it's good to apologize, and even more than that, do something, do some service for the devotee. Alright. Okay, so everyone's ready for the exercise? Developing big vision, thinking big, visualization. Okay, so in pairs, turning to the devotee next to you. And the question is that if tomorrow, let me ask this question first. How many of you want to see like really major changes in Austin as a result of development of Krishna consciousness? Anyone wants to see major positive changes? Okay. Alright. So the question is, if you wake up tomorrow, what would you like to see? What kind of people you want to have? What should be different? And the bigger and the better picture you describe, the better it is. Yeah? Okay, so turn to each other and tell each other, this is what I want to see, ideally, happening. If Krishna would just make a miracle, what do I want to see?
What we see, not what we want to see. What we want to see.